Hello, this is BioEnchanted and welcome back to Bolt. This is going to be the penultimate episode of the whole series. It's also going to contain one of the hardest parts of the platforming in this game as well. A few very tricky areas to get through. But for now, we're a completely depowered Bolt. We have no strength, no abilities. All we have are 4 paws and a tail for balance. This first bit's a little weird to figure out how to progress though, because you have to kind of come out here and let the camera pull out all the way to see this set of ledges over here, which can be quite tricky to see. But of course there's guys here, so you have to be very careful. I think no matter what happens, they will see you. So you just have to keep moving. Because as Bolt at the moment, we are, whoops, defenseless. We can still weirdly double jump, but yeah. And dash. It's just things are a lot slower right now, so you have to kind of adjust to that when making these jumps. I don't know how Bolt knows to go in there, but that's fine. He's at least still a smart dog, even if he's not got superpowers anymore. But yeah, at the moment, we are actually more capable as Penny than we are as Bolt, because she at least can still have fight, she still has her gadgets. Again, this whole area is a little bit big, it can be like, there's not that much to interact with, but it can be kind of a little tricky to work out what order you need to interact with things in if you don't really know the sequence. Let's take care of him first though, just to get him out of the way. So yeah, this is what we actually need to do. We need to get into that control room. So now we at least know what we're trying to do. And these camera angles give us a bit of a hint as to where we need to start. So we need to find a way up there, which is over here, right at the beginning. I quite like this little series of buildings. It's a neat little visual thing with all the different shapes of roofs and things like that. Whoops, I really messed up there. This part's a little bit weird, because you can't really like get them off this ledge. You don't really drop down, you just kind of bounce against an invisible wall, so you just have to kind of be very careful, drop down and hope the whippy doesn't notice you. It's still not that difficult though, you just have to be kind of very cautious in this section. And of course we haven't got any energy right now, so you have to kind of wait for it to regenerate sometimes, and that's always a pain. And yeah, this part's a little tricky as well with these electric things, because of course if Penny gets caught in these electric things, she will die instantly, and you have to go through that whole ladder thing again and fight the guys again. You just have to be kind of careful and remember the pattern as well as you can, and just kind of follow the electricity through the maze. That's kind of the safest bet. There we go. Now before we go the obvious route, You have something less obvious to do. Because you can see something over there that's very easy to see, but it can also be easy to miss. You don't think to just drop down and do this. Because the roofs might look a bit too steep to climb like that, but you can climb them. It looks like the sort of slope you just slide back down again, but now apparently you can walk up that just fine. Now we'll take the obvious route. That was embarrassing. Let's try not to let that happen again. And here we are to the control booth. Head down there and take a land basically on the guy, but unfortunately we can't really Batman the situation. We have to take him out the normal way. You can't just land on someone and kill them instantly by breaking them because she's a child. In a children's show, that wouldn't really fly. You wouldn't really get away with inverting someone's spine in a children's show, but this is the part where it can get a bit tricky to really figure out what you need to do or how to make it happen. So of course you need to get that along the track. But the real question is, like, the actual timing of it, like how to make it actually move properly. It's a very awkward kind of a thing if you don't know what you're doing. I quite like all the little things in the garage, so that's a pretty nice little area. There's no reason to have all that stuff in there, it's just a nice bit of set dressing. While the doors are opening, let's quickly get over there and try and figure out how to make that move along the track. You can see from the yellow things what we're supposed to be doing here. It's a very obvious puzzle. It's just a matter of actually figuring out how to get things moving and seeing what you can actually interact with, like that pressure plate, for example. Can't do anything with it right now. This is actually a bit of a timing puzzle as well, because for that to work, the door needs to be opened. Or opening. So of course, that device is what actually moves the train thingy. But of course the doors don't really stand open long enough, so you just have to kind of move it a bit, and then reopen the doors and move it again. I've never really been able to get it like in one swoop. It's just a little bit awkward. But when you know what you're doing, it's really not that difficult to get it right. It's just a matter of actually doing the thing before the doors close. There we go. We've done what we need to do, and we've now wedged the door. Oh no, we haven't already done what we need to do. We need to move it one step further. I misjudged. That should do it. Now the doors will stay open at a particular width. A width that's useful to us. I quite like that use of the doors. That's a very cute puzzle. I quite like that a lot. Now we have a very interesting little section. That here is where the most difficult platforming in the game comes in. The laser grids were quite hard. But this is more traditional platforming. And very difficult. If you don't know the knack. So let's start by going the obvious direction we can only really go in.
Bladder is all tanked up, but the wood chips are way over there. I can hold it.
I like that one, that's quite a funny one. There's something I always really like with this game is Rhino's little interjections when you go to the pause menu. And they got a bit glitchy there with Penny, but at least now we're actually moving. A bit weird it's just kind of frozen there, it's like a Y pose sort of thing instead of a T pose, but maybe just notice it does that, it's a bit weird, but yeah, it's otherwise fine.
Huh?
I think the frog got him before I could. I was just adding insult to injury. So here's where things get really tricky. And of course there is one extra guy as well over here.
I found the girl.
So I had to cut out a few failures here because this is actually quite tricky. What you have to do is release those to make these pop out. And then just keep spotting the chains to make the next platform pop up. And quickly get to the next one before it closes. But here you have to be a little bit cheeky, you have to have a bit of timing there. And now we have to do a pole swing, and in this game that's a little tricky to time. I died a lot of times trying to get across those two poles, because just that final jump off the pole, I've never been able to consistently get. I've always needed to have a few tries at those particular things, but here is quite tricky. Because what you really need to do is use the way these platforms tilt to maneuver around them. But of course if they tilt too far you can kind of slide off, so you have to be very careful. And here we are at the biggest portion of this section, and one of the hardest parts of this particular part of the game. Because here we have to use the tilting to get just to the right height, but they move so quickly back again that it's really hard to get to the top of them before they've leveled out too much to make the jump. It's a very difficult thing to get right. It's very, very, very easy to misjudge. You either slide off or just not make the jump. And there is a bit of a safety net in this, in that like if you don't make certain really high jumps top of the thing, then at least you can land on the previous platform and not have to reload, but it's still way too finicky. Just partially because of the camera angle as well, it does not do it any favours. It makes it really hard to judge the horizontal distance and the way the vertical alignment of the platforms is laid out. Like here, for example, I'm having a lot of trouble getting it to stay up on one side so I can make the jump to the other. As you can see as well, the top one actually has a bit of a railing on that side of it, so you actually have to go from the front of the platform, which I realise here. And that's the hardest part done. Now we just need to get up here. It's an interesting little challenge. It's a cute use of the whole moving platforms and things. And of course over here, we have a secret that we saw earlier. That's one thing this game does very well, is the way it kind of shows you where certain items is. You just have to figure out how to get there. It doesn't always do that, as you've seen throughout the rest of the game. And some of the ones that we've missed can be quite devilishly hidden. But, although for the most part it does a good job of showing where most of them are ahead of time, without spelling out exactly how you get to them. You just have to remember they're there.
You're just a little girl and your doggy can't save you anymore. Be smart and save your father's life.
Yup, Bolt's looking into the nuclear reactor and has now powered himself up. Immensely. We are now so much more powerful than we were before. Our powers are permanently supercharged. And we can still activate the supercharged thing as well to make them even more ridiculous. So let's get going now the bridge is up. After a brief sojourn to the menu. Of course, this is pretty much a rampage. And of course we also even have more power-ups as well. How will that affect... What? Seems the power-ups have become so ridiculously overpowered because of the supercharge. We have now broken the time-space continuum. And we're just getting stronger and stronger as we go. We've got back here now, it's time to actually beat up these guys with our ridiculously overpowered bolts. I mean, he doesn't really explain how he powered himself up, we just have to assume that it's kind of a bolt from the blue. But... And I'm not going to apologise for that, but... And here's something very stupid that I'm embarrassed I missed. I quite like that the last 3 power-ups for bolts are very kind of on a linear path as well. It's just kind of like, it's fitting for the situation we're in where we're just getting stronger and stronger because of the way Bolts has powered himself up way beyond his usual standards. And now, due to that ability to break the time-space continuum, we have now got everything. It doesn't really appear here because, of course, the nature of what happened. But by the time we get to the actual final boss, which is just through these doors, both meters will be maxed.
That's right, puppy. Come find your helpless little penny. Over, you fools!
Look out!
No!
Drop the track.
So, now we have our final boss, which we will do in the final video. This was that last section's a fun one with the little, like, the permanent supercharged to powers and everything. Like, it's quite satisfying just being able to wreck all the otherwise difficult enemies.
Oh my god!
And I'll see you next time as we complete the game. I'll see you then. Goodbye.